Years ago, when I was learning how to read, a good vast of us, and even some of us today, when we are teachers, here's a word, and usually we call this a sight word because they're words that we want to be recognized by sight. And so, because sight words cannot be spelled out, they cannot be sounded out and spelled correctly. And again, it's misconception. I'm just kind of gonna break with you. So this word is the word said, like I said, go to bed. I said, brush your teeth. Okay. When we are teaching kids how to read this, what are some things we might say? Well, you might say, sound it out. Okay. So I look at this first letter. I look at this. If I'm a kid who is just learning how to read, and that's at any age, of any, wherever you are in your reading journey, I would say, and I know the letters of the alphabet, a, I, d, ad. Doesn't sound like anything to me. And the key point is when you are asking your child to sound something out and to have them tell you what it is, you want them to say, well, what does it sound like? Because we all have great oral language. If you are a native English speaker, well, you know the word, but you may have trouble decoding it. And for this word, that's a sight word, it doesn't follow any pattern. So I'm going to first start somewhere, and we're going to come back to said. And I'm going to give my tip over there to come back to said. How do you want to start with teaching your kid how to read? Well, you first want to teach them how to listen. Your child's going to be practicing listening comprehension for the rest of their lives up until adulthood when they have a job. You want them to really be able to know the sound of the alphabet. So that's the first thing. The sounds. Does your child know all the sounds that the alphabet can make? And there are letters that represent two different sounds. Like sometimes C can be a K, or a G has two different sounds. Really honing in, does your child know that and have that skill? And you can just simply ask, let's say the alphabet. Great. We're saying it. We're not putting any print in front of us. Now then, let's say the sound. A, B, D, E. And again, it can be played in a fun way for your child. I like to do multi-sensory. So if you have a pop it, every time they pop it, or they can do a jumping jack, do toe touches. Kids love to do exercises. And if they get one wrong, they can do a push-up or something fun. Again, make it fun, make it multi-sensory. Does your child know the sounds of the alphabet? And then you want to go into something we call phonemic awareness. And I say we in education. Phonemic awareness is the ability to manipulate the sounds that are heard in words, where you are isolating a sound, you're identifying a sound, you are deleting the sound, adding on a new sound, and that's going to be super helpful. I'm going to explain why. When you're able to locate where a sound is in a word, then you are able to understand how to spell it. And I can explain it to you. So phonemic awareness, and through my phonemic awareness and phonics flashcards that I have for sale for $25 on my website, it has a parent script, and all you have to do is show the kid the card, the phonics, and it gives an example of how to do phonemic awareness, the sound manipulation. It gives tips, and it you can catch on and add your own, make it fun, make it unique to your personal experience. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do a phonemic awareness round with you. We're going to focus on the long A sound. Okay, so all the words that we're going to say are going to have a long A sound. Your role is to tell me where in the word do you hear the long A. And I'll go first. And here is the body movement part. So the word is pain. And I always say ask the child to repeat because you want to make sure that they're hearing the word right and they're saying it correctly. That's the key point. The word is pain. What's the word? Perfect. Okay. We're going to pop or tap the sounds. At first, I say use your arm because it's easy to locate beginning, middle, and end. At the end, as we progress, I either have students tap their desk or use their fingers or, use like numerals to count. But again, this is all sound. There's nothing that's put out in front of them yet. So the word is pain. What's the word? Okay, let's tap the sounds to pain. Stick your arm out. A, n, a, n. And then through the beginning stages of asking for the identification of a sound, I say, what's the beginning sound that you hear? Well, beginning is where we started. A is the middle sound. N is the end sound. Where do you hear that vowel? And again, it's really important. You want to go back to the skill of, do they know the sounds of the alphabet? Can they identify the vowels and the sounds, the sounds that they can make? Well, our focus today is long A. Where did you hear A? The beginning, the middle, or the end? Yep, you heard it in the middle. And you might notice your child is going back, and that's good. They're doing that physical movement to help that long-term, to help it stick long-term. So we heard A in the middle. Okay, when I'm spelling it now, remember when you hear A, it's going to go in the middle. So let's write. The first sound was P. Well, what letter represents P? P. Great. And if they don't know the sounds of the alphabet, having those phonemic awareness flashcards that I said are available are a great tool to have right there. What's the next sound we hear? A. What represents A? The letter A. Great. Okay. The next sound is N. That's the last sound. So N represents N. And depending on where your child is in phonemic awareness strength, it's also key to say, hey, can you count the sounds that you hear? Now, you want to decode this. What does this word say? Does it say our focus word? And what was our focus word again? Pain. Well, if your child has great knowledge of all the sounds of the alphabet, this word, they will realize, does not say pain. Let's decode it. Pan. Why is it saying pan? Well, we see that this consonant at the end is there, and it's keeping that vowel short. Our vowel said what in the middle? It said A. How can we make this say A? And that's where you come in as a parent and you go and you teach. You come in as a teacher and you say AI. If you hear AI, if you hear A in the middle of a word, that as you're spelling it and as you're saying it, okay, as you're saying it to spell it, excuse me, then you will know that the spelling should be AI. Very interesting. Now let's do this again. I'm going to erase. I'm going to give you a new word. Your new word is they. Another sight word. They. Okay. Well, let's tap the sounds. A. A. Well, how many sounds does this word have? It only has two. A. So let's draw those boxes. I call them sound boxes. Ooh, let's make that a little bit darker. A. That's not the eraser. Okay, so we only heard two sounds in this. Where did we hear A? Was it at the beginning or the end? It was at the end. I'm going to put a star here. We hear A at the end. I wonder how it's going to be spelled. So what was the beginning sound again? You see how I'm constantly going back to asking them what the beginning sound is. I'm constantly asking them I'm requiring them to have that listening comprehension. And if they have to go back, tapping it out, perfect. You want them to use those multisensory skills. So TH makes also, if this is where your child is, if they know the sounds of the alphabet, but they're stuck on blends and digraphs, is another perfect teaching moment. Every moment is a teaching moment that you and your child together can share. So TH makes So we know that's a digraph because T and H together separately don't make the same, don't make this sound. Do you notice how there's two letters in one box? It's very important to pull out that even though there's a sound box, TH together makes one sound, even though there's two letters. So we have, what's the end sound? A. What could we put? Well, we're going off of what we know. A. Your child might do that, or you just taught them, or they just learned last week. Well, A, I know AI can make A. This is great. Why is this great? Because your child is learning, using what they have learned. They are trying to really think critically about how to spell it. Do you notice how many pieces go into spelling? There's so much. And listening comprehension is the biggest part. Well, I told you earlier that AI goes in the middle. It goes in the middle. If there is an end sound here for they, A is the end sound. So what are my options? Well, your options are for long A, if you have A at the end, your options can be EY or AY. Like if I was writing the word day, again, do you pick up on how there are two letters, but it's one sound box? Phonemic awareness, I want you to identify the sound. Then we go back and reinforce the phonics. I want you to now make that synapses connection, make a realization that EY together says A. Now, this is all so mind-blowing, but you can prove it when if you search up a list of long A sound words and you just plane and clay and pray, or even fake words, dray, you play with the spelling of it. Now let's go back to this fun sight word. And again, do you see how they is a sight word, but you can still decode it? So let's erase. We just learned that AI, AY, EY all says A, long A. But what about this word? What was this word again? Said. I'm going to teach you how I would teach how to spell this word. So the word is said. Let's tap the sound. Ed. Said. How many sounds did you hear? 3. Ed. Again, it's very important. Remember I told you we're going to move, we're going to say the sound, and then we're going to write it. First sound is S. First sound is S represents it. Is where I hear in the middle. Inventive spelling. Knowledge of alphabet sound says, well, this is going to make sense because I hear D is at the end. Guess what? this middle sound is tricky. It's a rule breaker. So you teach your kids that this sound in the middle does say eh, but the phonics spelling of it is AI. It's a rule breaker. So all your children have to remember is that AI goes in the middle when spelling it and when decoding it. All they have to remember is when I feed this together, I know this is always going to be the same. The D is always going to be the same, but the middle is always only going to say eh. That takes the pressure off of the child's brain to remember the whole entire word. We were taught to remember and to read this word as said. I'm taught to remember every single piece of it. But when you are teaching this way, it's called orthographic mapping. When you are mapping out the sound of the letters and you are identifying the vowels and you are identifying the rule breakers and you are identifying the special patterns, spelling patterns, you are taking the load off the brain to only keep what needs to be kept. I don't need to remember all the letters. I don't need to remember each letter, the pairs. All I need to remember is what is different. Because if they already have a firm foundation in sounds of the alphabet and the print of the alphabet, then this part is minimal. So every time I see this word, I know it's going to say a tricky sound. And there's so many tricky words that you can play, and you can play around with your kid